really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is impermanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, you already fucking know what time it is. It's time for me to blast your poor little earballs out because I'm way too excited and I'm getting too much gain. I can already see Mr. Zenith over there being like, what the fuck is this dude doing? But I don't care because I don't have to listen to me. You guys have to listen to me. And speaking of listening to me, you not only have to listen to me today, you have to listen to my fabulous panel. We're going to be talking about Chapter 10 of SciVive, which is all about longevity. This is the final chapter that we're going to be covering in SciVive. So for all you guys that have been sticking with us the whole way, we greatly appreciate it, and we love to have you here with us, hanging out and covering these books and doing all that good stuff. But before I go on a crazy tirade talking about Richard Hart and his cool-ass books, I want to introduce my fantastic panel that's going to be with me here today, and we're going to be covering this book. So I've got Mr. Zenith, I've got Mr. Farmer J over there, I've got Mrs. McGettit, and I've got Mr. McGettit. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, can you give the folks at home a brief introduction on who you are, what you do in the DGen Roundtable, and what you thought about this very last chapter of SciVive, starting with my fantastic co-host, Mr. Zenith. What's up, bro?
How's it going? Good to see everybody here tonight. I see we have some of the usual suspects in the chat, so hello to all you guys. We'll get to you shortly. Don't even worry for a second. But other than that, yeah, hello. I'm Zenith. I'm a bit of jack of all trades, but I guess I've fallen into legal and government analysis and expert around here, and I also am a co-host of the other book club, which, I mean, we've been covering SciVive for a while now. It's been fun. I haven't torn out all of my hair yet, but at the same time, I am excited to hopefully get to some more greener pastures, so to speak, because I think this is the ninth book club that we're doing specifically covering SciVive. But other than that, yeah, I am having a great time, ready to talk about this and close the chapter, so to speak. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to pass it over to Farmer Jay. How's it going, my man?
Pretty good. Just kind of like Zenith on this book. I'm kind of happy to that it's coming to an end. It was an interesting read. Maybe we spent too much time on it, but we could have probably shrunk it down a bit. But it was very interesting and kind of an insider to how Richard Hart thinks. But what the hell do we know? We're retards, and he's a very smart guy, right? He's the billionaire, right? Not us.
This is true. He absolutely is the billionaire. We are not billionaires yet, or well, at least for the time being. Hopefully one day we'll see. We'll see what kind of cool goods and services that we can provide society. But moving right along into our next panelist, Mrs. McGettit, what is new and exciting with you? Can you explain to the folks at home who don't know who you are, what you do for the DGen Roundtable, and your thoughts on this very last chapter of SciVive?
Hello, I am kind of, hang on one second. I do, I don't know, you kind of caught me off guard with that one. I do a lot of things. I do our producing, I make our thumbnails, I do our ads on our social media accounts, and I'm totally forgetting what else right now, but various other things. Let's go with that.
Yes. So I'll go ahead and I'll give the folks at home a little bit of an introduction for Mrs. McGettit. Mrs. McGettit is our fantastic producer. She runs all the camera switching for us. She does all the sound effects, all of the crazy cool, like, oh hey, can you pull this thing up over there? She's basically our Jamie to the Joe Rogan. Like if we were Joe Rogan, if the DRT was Joe Rogan, Mrs. McGettit over here would be the Jamie that's pulling that shit up, making the cameras switch, making sure that we got the StreamYard links up, doing all the icons, doing all the everything behind the scenes. So big shout out to Mrs. McGettit. What were your thoughts on this very last chapter of SciVive?
Well, I like Zenith and Farmer. We're very polite. I'm going to say a little less polite here. Thank God this is over with. I am so
yes.
ready to move on to something else. Not that it was bad, not that I completely hated it, and I luckily didn't lose any hair over it. Zenith, I'm not the pulling hair out in frustration type, so I'm more of the scream into the pillow or into the void or whatever you can find that will not scream back at you, that type of thing. But I'm just ready to move on. This chapter was definitely better than a lot of the ones I can remember, which I'm having a hard time remembering them all because it's been a while since we started all of this. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it and see what everybody has to say and what everybody thinks. We got a ton of quotes from it to look at too, so should be a good stream.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Mr. Nate McGettit, you finally, good sir. Can you describe to the folks who you are, what you do for the DGen Roundtable, and what's new and exciting you, and like what your general thoughts were for this final chapter of SciVive?
Yeah, I am the Ascending Man, Nate McGettit, with the DGen Roundtable. And yeah, in general, I kind of do like portfolio stuff. I look at meme coins, I go degenning around a little bit. I look at protocols. I have a tendency to kind of deep dive into those, whether they're safe or not, things like that. As well as I do a little bit of a little bit like Zenith over here, a little bit of everything as well. However, yeah, the thing about this book, it was like it really did read like somebody who's just sort of talking into the void, I would say. Looks like we got rugged. You rugged, bro. Well,
he's having audio issues. He's hopping out and hopping back in again. On the subject of audio issues, can you turn your mic down about like 20% or something, and then continue right along your same thoughts?
I can. Better yet, I'll just push this further away. There we go.
Oh, there we go. That's much better. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Better. Please continue.
All right. So thank you for
do it live.
All right. So yeah. The thing about this book is that it's a lot like he's just sort of like talking about stuff, like ideas that he has, and then he like just writes them down. And that's kind of how the book sort of read. And there's a lot of good things, like a lot of gems in it, right? But there's not really a narrative to the book itself. It's sort of just a collection of ideas. This one in particular, this chapter, longevity, and I kind of liked it a little bit. However, there's some spots in it where it's like, oh, you don't want to cure cancer at all, because that only gives you 4 years of extra life versus something else that's going to give you like maybe 6 years of extra life. And it's like, okay, well, sure. That's an interesting way to think about it. But that's kind of how the book is because of the way that it's written out. You really do get a mind, as Farmer Jay said over here, you really do get a look into the mind of Richard Hart. So, hey, I mean, there's that as well. So,
excellent. Well, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So for the folks at home who have not read SciVive, I'm going to give you guys a very long and detailed explanation of what this very last chapter was, and it goes a little bit something like this. And this is quoted by my good friend Zenith here. Get rich, be loved, live forever. That's basically it. That's what this chapter is all about. Make money, live forever, and find people and love them and shit. So there you go. That's what this whole fucking chapter is about. And yet you can kind of tell it a little bit from the name, Chapter 10, longevity. Yeah, he's going to talk a lot about like his super great big investment in the Sens Foundation with folks like Aubrey de Grey that are out there pursuing life extension and stuff. If you guys have watched any of the Hex conferences or the Pulse Chain conferences, you might have seen Aubrey de Grey speaking. He used to work for the Sens Foundation. I think it used to be called also the Methuselah Foundation or something like that. But anyways, like Richard is super duper interested in longevity and trying to extend people's lifetimes and the amount of time that they're on Earth and things of that nature. And he's gone through, I think that was originally like why he got involved into cryptocurrency, is so that way he could help raise money for longevity. And like a big idea of like the whole, Hex staking Quattro Cinco and everything is with the idea that you want to live long enough that your money is useful, and you want to save your money long enough that it appreciates, or not money, but like you want to store your value long enough that it appreciates to the point where it's like worth crazy amounts when it's finally time to use it, and you still have like the ability to use it and stuff. And I'm not going to go on too much more of a detail or like a rant or a tirade anymore, because ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time, you already know it, for chat motherfucking shoutouts. And before we get into chat shoutouts, you guys might have noticed in the comments, there's people going hashtag DRT. So I'm trying out a super cool new StreamYard giveaway tool. Mrs. Producer, I'm about to share my screen right here, if you wouldn't mind. let me see. So I'm going to talk while I'm doing it because that's the way that professionals do. Share the old screen-aroo here. So for the folks at home who see other people typing in hashtag DRT, I am experimenting with this new StreamYard giveaway tool. And if I click this draw button, it's basically going to do a random draw between all of the names of everyone that types in DRT in the chats. So if you guys are in the chats right now and you want to participate in this super cool stream giveaway, I'm going to be giving out 2 prizes for the top 2 winners of the draws. The first prize winner is going to get 420 DRT tokens from my public will.pls wallet. And then the second winner is going to get 69. So we're covering all the important numbers. We're covering 420 and we're covering 69. So the winners of today's magical draw things are going to be getting some free cryptocurrency tokens that are worth basically fucking nothing because they were created live on stream here to answer some questions that the folks at home had about how you guys create coins and things. And as a matter of fact, our good friend, the lovely Dr. Crypto Sloth, Dr. Sloth, helped us in the making of these DRT coins. So we're going to be doing a giveaway on this stream, and you'll have to forgive us because we don't have sound effects. So I might just like drum roll on the table or something, or I might just say like, oh boy, here it comes, or do something. But anyways, make sure that you guys type in hashtag DRT in the chats. Oh, damn, we got Farmer J with the super chat. Thank you, brother. Already. Like people chatting up, hitting us up, typing in hashtag DRT. I'm pretty sure that if we're streaming on Twitter and we're streaming on like Facebook or Instagram or whatever the heck, if there's people watching us on those platforms as well, if you guys are on Twitter, you should be able to type in hashtag DRT, and I believe that it will add you to the stream giveaway thing. I'm not entirely positive. If all else fails, then go to the youtube.com/DGen Roundtable, and then you guys can hop in the comments on there on YouTube, and I know for a fact that it will pull it up in there. So anyways, I'm going to say around the 30-minute mark of the show, I'm going to do the first stream giveaway. And then around the 1 hour mark, I'm going to do the second stream giveaway. So that's what's going to be happening. So go ahead and type in hashtag DRT in the chats. And Mrs. Producer, I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen if I can find the button. There it is. Stop sharing. Okay, cool beans. And now the cameras are all, there we go. Thank you. See, this is what Mrs. Producer does. Not only is she going to talk to us about like the cool stuff in the books, but she also has the magical power to make the cameras move all over the place and everything. So thank you very much, Mrs. Baguette. We greatly appreciate you. And not only do we appreciate you, we appreciate the people in the chats. So starting up, we have Mr. Kenturian 54X coming in hot at 7:02. My God, man. This guy was chatting up early. He was ready to roll 1 hour before we went even live. What's up, Degens? Good sir, what is up to you as well? It's always good to have you, Mr. Kenturian. Not Centurion, it's Kenturian, because I speak a little bit of Latin. And I know that it'll bother you until the day you die. So
it's 4:02 on my time. 4:02.
Yep. Yeah, it's 4:02 over there on the Pacific coast. But yeah, hell yeah. Next up we got Tam hashtag DRT. And then we've got Mr. Lee also saying TDR. Mr. Lee, you're going to want to make sure that you type in hashtag DRT instead of TDR. Otherwise, it might not work. And then finally, we've got Farmer J with the $10 super chat. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who is watching us both live or watching us on the replay. Your guys' attention span is the reason that we do this whole thing. We all do it because we love people watching us. At least that's why I'm doing it. But anyways, we're having fun. We're sharing knowledge. We're chit-chatting with each other. And we'd be doing this shit even if we weren't like recording it. We'd be chit-chatting about books anyway. So we figure, hell, why not let the public get it? And we can figure it all out that way. So type in DRT in the chats. Go read SciVive. And make sure that you guys hang out. Mrs. Magetta, it sounds like you got something there. What's up?
Yeah, real quick, I'm going to correct you on that one. I never would have read this if you hadn't forced me to. So
I win. This is like we're back in school. Teacher assigns us a book and we got to do a book report. So this is excellent. I will say, I've said it once and I said it again. Thank you, Zenith, man, for creating this book club thing, bro. Because like after I said I would do the book club and I said I would read all the books, I have regretted like saying that a few times, but I have never once regretted like reading any of these books that I've forced myself to read, because like these are some fantastic, awesome books, and it's like I'm begrudgingly making myself smarter and making myself a better person by this thing that you've built. So kudos to Zenith, who started this book club and who encouraged us all to read books and share and everything. And so without further ado,
better together.
So yeah, he's to blame for this.
Yeah, hey, Zenith started it.
Look, you saw the ride. You bought the ticket, brother. At this point, it's on you as much as it is me.
I bamboozled myself. I bamboozled myself.
But I enjoy the book club, man. We've gone through. This is our 27th
Absolutely.
episode, dude. The 27 episode of book club. So shout out
There
to
is
us
no
for
second
fucking.
best.
There is
There
no
is
second best. Yeah, shout out to all you guys on this panel for sticking it through and putting your nose to the grindstone and
No,
reading these books.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. Like I always look forward to book club.
Hell yeah, man. Good shit. Good shit. Well, so anyways, guys, without further ado, there's a couple super cool and awesome, fancy, spicy quotes that we're going to be covering. So I'm just going to hop on through it. If you guys want to check out some of the things that we're going to be talking about, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the chat below, and this will take you directly to the DGen Roundtable Telegram. That is, or not the DGen Roundtable, the DGen Roundtable Book Club Telegram. That has like basically the collection of all of my notes for this show. So if you guys, if you feel so inclined, scroll on through these notes, and if there's something that you want to see us talk about, or if there's something that you have thoughts about, feel free to ask us questions in the comments below, or comment your thoughts or whatever the heck as we go through the show. We'll periodically do chat shoutouts and stuff, and yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. If you see anything in there in particular that you want us to cover, make sure you drop little emojis in there. That basically the things that I'm going to be focusing on for this show are the things that have the most little emojis on them. So that's without further ado. Oh shit, and we got RH Max in the chats. Aloha to you, sir. It's good to see you, Max. Welcome, buddy. Welcome on over to the channel. We're covering the final chapter for SciVive in case you couldn't read the title. But I have good faith in you, broski. You know what you're doing. Anyways, guys, without further ado, I'm going to hop on into the first chat quote, and this is going to be the one that oh snap, no it's not, I already read that one. My god, the intro one that I was going to read was get rich, be loved, and live forever. That pretty much sums up the chapter, and that's the one that I see that had the most reactions. But the one after that is, this is from Zenith, and this is a bit of a fun one. If you're making a Rate My Sandwich app, SciVive hopes that you find more empowering and fulfilling use of your creative skills. And so this is a fun one.
Okay.
And I'm sure that Zenith
Will,
has some thoughts on this. What you got, Mrs. McGettit?
how are you going to start the book club with the very last line in the book?
Oh, because it's going to be funny. That's why. We're not going to dwell on this very long. But the idea right here, and I think that this is what Zenith was trying to, and Richard Hart was trying to encapsulate, is if you've got something cool that you're going to do, then you shouldn't waste your time by making something that's not useful for people. Right? Is that that's my thoughts regarding this quote. What are your guys' thoughts on things that people often do that takes a lot of effort, that they put a lot of thought and a lot of intention into, that's just kind of sort of a waste of time, for lack of a better word, not a high leverage activity? Do you guys have anything that comes to mind when it's regarding people wasting time doing things that take a lot of effort?
Well, to me, like, people do all sort of dumbass things, right? But if that dumbass thing makes you money, then was it really a waste of time?
Because then you can leverage that money
to buy back,
to then
your
do
time.
something more useful.
Yes.
So, and unless you're doing that, but if you're completely wasting your time and there's like no results from it, then yeah, you are wasting your time. But like if you do something that's completely useful, but people are willing to pay for it, hey, screw it, go for it, you know?
Yep.
The Kardashians have made a fortune doing that. They provide no value, but yet they're crazy rich.
I think I got a little bit of a different interpretation. I would say that they provide entertainment value. They give people that guilty pleasure. Like it might not be monetary.
Useless entertainment value.
Sure, but like that's eyeballs on the screen, man.
Absolutely. Like I like Game of Thrones. I think a lot of us here would agree. But did it add anything to our lives? No, it was good entertainment, right? Just like watching sports. Good entertainment. Like you got to take time to do some of these guilty pleasure things, but when you spend a crazy amount of time on anything that provides no value, it's kind of like we're wasting our time. Like,
see, unlike here where this is valuable.
because we're actually having discussions and firing our brains, right? But we're also firing our brains, right? We're thinking, we're thinking about what we're saying. We're going over the book in our brains. But when you're just watching a sport, you're just sitting there doing nothing but just watching, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we need time in our lives to have, like you said, those guilty pleasures. but we shouldn't let them overtake our lives. I guess the book we read, right? The one, right? Like having time blocks, right? We should have time blocks to dedicate to these things where they're just mindless and we're just decompressing in life, right? But most of our time should actually be spent usefully, in my opinion, anyway. But what the hell do I know?
I'm gonna, geez, I can't believe me, the engineer, is gonna come in here and defend the literary arts, but I think there's absolutely a point to having good storytelling and sort of good media within a culture or society, which is that I think it is one of the best ways that you can inspire people and promote values and ideas that also entertain the masses. So you can, I think that there's a handful of movies that are made just for pure entertainment value, but at the end of the day, a lot of the things and a lot of the movies and stories we tell have a meaning or a reason or a point to it, which is that there are values that the characters are trying to uphold or enact, or there's a problem or a challenge that they're trying to wrap their heads around and find a solution to. And it can definitely be an allegory to whatever is going on. So, I mean, me personally, one of the best movies that I think has come out in modern age is Gladiator. And I think that Gladiator is a very good movie because the values that the movie Gladiator tries to promote and wrap your brain around is kind of like honor and duty, and then also promoting something greater than yourself, which is that Maximus is fighting for, it is a bit of a revenge story, so yeah, there's the guilty pleasure in that, but it also is that he's there to fight alongside the men that he's worth, and then also for his country and try to promote Rome back to the former glory that it is and weed out the corruption and the evil. So it's like, is there a lot of other stuff that goes on in the process? Yeah, absolutely. But it's like the movie has a point, which is that it's trying to show that these things are worth fighting for and that good men are going to die in the process, but it still doesn't eliminate the point that it's worth fighting for. So you can have stories and movies like that, and then you can juxtapose it right next to Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which I don't know what the point is there. It's all about kind of like the underlying tone of the storytelling. So the reason that I brought up this quote for the SciVive stuff is that it's a bit of a Yogi Berra-ism, which is like one of those sayings that's like, I showed up to everyone else's funeral, but I'm mad that nobody else showed up to mine.
Yep. Dude, I got something to tee off of there whenever you're done.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
The point of the quote is that this, along with the other one, which is, what was it? Get rich, be loved, live forever. This one is pretty much make the most use of your time. Don't waste your efforts and your energy. And I think that has been a common theme throughout the entirety of the book, which is that you have finite resources, whether it's money, time, IQ power, body power, whatever. Spend it the best way that you possibly can.
Yes. So RH Max has a good point here. Mrs. Producer, can you pull that comment up again real quickly, please? I look at games and TV shows as a way to relax and pass time as needed, like on an airplane and tired of reading or something. But otherwise, I avoid spending time watching sports even. And I think, however, I see media entertainment as being an escape and even inspiration for many people, so that even if I avoid or limit it, many people may benefit from it, even if I don't. I will say that there is value to entertainment. There is value to storytelling. There is value to all of this like emotionally inspiring stuff. And it can be maximally leveraged, at least in my opinion, when you combine it with when you find a way to combine the emotion with like a nugget of wisdom or like a change in like life purpose or direction. When you take like an emotional song and then you tie some like financial principles into it, or when you take like did you guys ever when you were younger, did you have like kindergarten school teachers that like they would sing you a lesson or something instead of just like tell you, hey guys, here's the ABCs? It's like, no, we have the ABC song, and it's like it's really sticky and it helps you remember things. So like having those cool lessons inside of that Gladiator movie is of way higher like leverage and value, I would say, than the Keeping Up with the Kardashians or the whatever, where it's just basically drama and indignance and there's nothing to extract from there other than like, this is probably not the way that I should live my life unless I want to be a famous plasticky person or something on that. And no offense to them, if that's the life that they want to live, if that's what the Kardashians want to do, then by all means go for it. It's not for me, but like basically there's ways to maximize the effectiveness in your life, and that's more or less what the SciVive is all about. So that is the end of my thoughts on this. If anyone has any final thoughts on this particular quote, then speak now or forever hold your peace.
I
Otherwise, I'm
will.
gonna go
I
ahead.
will quickly say that although Gladiator is a very great movie, one that I have watched about 10 times, and I have multiple copies on my PC on it. I think it kind of hits more of the values that it teaches, right? But it's more of the values we were brought up with. So at the end of the day, we still have these values in us. And my point is just that watching too much TV is just a waste of fucking time. Now, don't get me wrong. We should, like I said, we should take time to decompress. And when we do watch movies, it should be movies like Gladiator, right? That have value to them, right? But a lot of the stuff out here is garbage. That's why people are so stuck on so many subscriptions nowadays. They'd be like, "Oh, have you watched this show and this show and this show?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't have time for that. I got other things to do." So yeah, when we do have that time to decompress, we should definitely watch valuable stuff that's entertainment and educational at the same time. But there should be like a limit on that stuff. I wasn't saying that like we shouldn't take the time to watch dumbass things. Sometimes you just need to sit there and watch an episode of one of the Chi and Chong movies and not think about anything. Just decompress. Just shut off your brain, and that's okay. But every now and then, within reason. But when we do that too much, like right now, we have a culture of we have this streaming, right? People have like 10 streaming services and they're watching shows back to back to back with no real value, right, to their lives. It's just like you're wasting your time. And you only, speaking of longevity, you only have a certain number of hours on this earth, right? So if you want to just waste them, like that's fine. Like I really hope that we as a society come to the point where we can extend our lives, right? Because like we all understand that we're all going to die one day. But like, wouldn't it be nice to live a couple hundred years in relatively good health?
Hell yeah, man.
And finally watch Hex Pump in like 50 years.
We're gonna wait till 15. We're gonna have 15 years of down only, so that way we can get all these fantastic juicy buys in and stack those T-shares, baby. I love it.
At last.
So-
2 weeks.
Mrs.
Real quick,
Magetta, do you
Will.
have a thought? Yes, go ahead, please.
Was this final thoughts on the sandwich quote, or did we come up with another one?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I want to say this quote has convinced me that I'm going to go make an app for rating my sandwich. And do you know why? On any given day, 47% of adults in America have eaten a sandwich. Sandwiches are actually one of the most popular foods in America. So if somebody actually made this and it was just like rating all the different sandwiches that you can get at all these different places, that could be astronomically popular.
You
So
know
I'm gonna
what?
make this app. I gotta figure out how to make apps first because I know nothing about that. But yeah.
You have strong armed.
See,
You have strong armed me, Mrs. Magetta, into
I would
believing
just
that
say
this is now
I
a
like
valuable thing.
sandwiches. I like sandwiches.
Yeah, I see. I want you to make this so that way everybody here on the panel and others, you guys out there as well, can rate her sandwiches. So that way I get the best ones.
Oh, dang. Look at this. A little bit of community effort for Nate. I like it, bro. I like it. This is good. Hey, Mrs. Magetta, if you charge $1 to download your app, I will buy your app for $1 to rate these sandwiches. And
I'm
not
already making potential money.
I'm not saying that I would spend a lot of time on this app, but I would put $1 towards your efforts and be like, you know what, good for you for creating this thing. So
Might as well, right?
We
I mean,
can-
imagine it though. If you connect all the different stores where you can buy sandwiches,
That
like
would
you
be-
got the Subway, you got the Quiznos, you got everything in this app. It's all in here. It's like Yelp. You just shove whatever sandwich you want in there and give it your review, and then eventually we'll hammer it out. We'll figure out where all the best sandwiches in the world are sold, and then Americans will travel there, and it'll be awesome.
Oh my God, this is super fun. Zenith, you got something? I see you're off of mute, brother. Or has anyone else got any thoughts? I'm gonna transition.
Transitions, brother.
All right, guys, time for a little bit more serious of a topic. But before we go into the serious topic, you guys might notice if you look, well, at least for us that are on the panel, we can see that we've reached the 30-minute mark. And you know what that means? That means it's time for a stream giveaway. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my giveaway tool, and I'm going to start presenting my screen like a person who knows how they're presenting screens and things. I think that's it. Mrs. McGettin, if you would be so kind as to let me know. Haha, it is. All right. So for the folks at home who missed the introduction to the show, if you guys have not already done so, type in hashtag DRT in the comments, either on YouTube, on Twitter, or X, or on wherever the hell else. Oh, where are we streaming right now, Mrs. McGettin? It's just YouTube and Twitter, right?
Yep, just YouTube and Twitter.
Okay,
Facebook got
sweet.
yeeted. Apparently, Facebook changed their
Oh,
settings so
damn.
that now you can't connect. There's a way around it, but I still have to like figure that out. So.
Ah, those bastards. All right. So for anyone who is in the chats who has not seen this already, I'm going to go ahead. I see that Farmer J has done it already, but I'm going to also type in hashtag DRT. And so that way folks have a little bit of time. I'll give you guys another minute or two before I click this fancy schmancy draw button right over here. But when I click this draw button, it's basically going to choose me a winner. And then, oh, snap, look at that. My brother has joined us. Aloha, brother. I will get to you momentarily. We're doing a stream giveaway, and the magic word of the day is DRT. So for those who are at home, make sure you guys type in hashtag DRT in the comments. And the first place winner for this stream right here is going to get 420 DRT tokens, which, again, is a fucking basically valueless coin. It's like, it's I don't even know. It's probably worth something around like 1 pulse or something per DRT. So it'll probably cost me more money to send you this DRT, and I'm sending it from my public wallet. But anyways, I'm going to be sending out 420 DRT to the first winner of this first draw, and then around the 1 hour mark of the stream, I'm going to be sending out a second 69 DRT for whoever the second winner is. So that way, there will be some folks out there who have some DRT tokens. Oh snap! I suppose I also would need whoever's address. So if you guys have a burner wallet or a condom wallet or some sort of like wallet that you want to go and make right now, after I get this, after I do this rolling and things, I'm going to message you guys on either Telegram or Twitter or whatever the heck. Or if you want to reach out to me, we could do that as well. I'll put in the description below how to reach out to me and stuff. But I will need a wallet address so I can send these coins to them. Otherwise, it'll be very silly and very fun. But anyways, I see that we have now got 9 DRTs, and we are at the just about 33-minute mark. You guys got about 20 seconds to type in DRT before I click this draw button. And some magical person who has typed in DRT might very well become the new owner of 420 DRT coins. So we got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're clicking it, baby. All right. So here's the drum roll. I don't know how well this is sounding coming in through the coming through my little microphone and stuff, but it looks like Lee is the winner. Congratulations, Lee.
Winner, chicken dinner.
We're gonna work on getting some sound effects that we can play while this is going. So, Mr. Lee on YouTube, let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and post my Telegram link in the YouTube description below. So that means I have to like click over to my emoji thing and click on myself. Oh my goodness. Why won't it let me pull up my account? Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. I'm just going to type it in manually. All right. So Mr. Lee, what I need you to do is go to t.me/Will Stevenson, which I am typing in right now. Oh, shoot. I need a hypertext transfer protocol. God bless America. I forget that this is always the way that that YouTube works. If I just type in t.me, it doesn't. It's freaking annoying and things. All right, so https://t.me/Will Stevenson. So, Mr. Lee, what I need you to do is I need you to click on that link, and I need you to go and make yourself a condom, like a condom wallet, or like get a MetaMask or whatever, or just like send me a message or something. So that way there is a chat transaction between the two of us, and then if you need help, I can walk you through the steps on how to make your own MetaMask and everything. And then whenever you're all finished with that, then I will send you 420 DRT coins. Congratulations to our first winner, Mr. Lee, who's getting 420 coins. Hell yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
When it comes to shit coins, DRT, there is no second best.
Dude, I think we made this before the great crazy shitcoin happenings of thank you, Mrs. Producer. I appreciate that, by the way. Good call with the thingamajigger. So there is a draw again button, but I don't think I should click it right now. I'm just gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that screen open for later. But there's 2 things that we have to do. One is we have to move on to the next quote, and 2 is that we have to introduce to you guys my brother over here who has decided to join us. Also, Mrs. Producer, your camera is gone. I presume you did that on purpose. Are you still with us?
I'm here. I need to update our cameras. I'll do it just right now.
Okay, cool beans. Well, for the folks at home who are now seeing my brother for the first time, this is my lovely brother, Sam Stevenson. He is the owner and sole proprietor of the YouTube channel Bungalows for Bachelors. And Sam, we're talking about SciVive Chapter 10 longevity. For the folks at home who have never seen you before, can you give them a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and what were your thoughts on this very final chapter, if you read it, of Richard Hart's SciVive?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sam. I am the guy for Bungalows for Bachelors. Basically, I help people learn about residential construction, and I draw house plans. If you want either one of those two things, hit me up. But that's what I got going on. And in regards to the chapter, I'm going to be totally honest. I did not make it through here. I did not make it through the chapter because I was spending so much time trying to make stuff for this Bungalows for Bachelors thing. So I'm excited to get started on the conversation, though, and contribute what I think.
Excellent. Good to hear. Well, we have a whole bunch of quotes in the book club section of the Telegram thing. If you need a link, if you need a link, let me know and I will send you one. And if you have any thoughts on, actually, you know what? I'll just copy the link and I'll put it in the live chat right now. So for the folks at home and also for Sam, if you guys want to check out some of the quotes that we were looking up in this section of the book, then just scroll through that chat. And if you see anything cool, then make sure that you react to it. And that's basically going to be the major focus of our conversation tonight. So yeah, well, we're glad to have you, Sam, and we're actually about to launch into a very serious part of the discussion where we're going to be talking about things that kill people next. So, in the very beginning of the chapter, Richard Hart talks about the things that kill the most people, and those two things are cancer for one and heart attacks for two. Cancer kills about 1 in 6 people. About 1 in 6 people die from cancer, and then another high percentage dies of heart attacks or heart disease or heart complications and problems. So heart attacks and cancer are the biggest killers. They kill you have about an 80% chance of dying of heart disease or cancer. My goodness, that is the quote. So, is this the question that I have for the folks in the on the panel? Is this something that you guys think about? Is this like, do you often think about how am I going to die? What can I do to prevent it? Are these thoughts that you guys ever have? And I'm going to toss it to my co-host Zenith first, and then if anyone else has any thoughts, feel free to hop in after that. But just to get the conversation started, looks like Zenith, you got something, broski. So take it away, my friend. What do you think about death?
I can tell you, I try not to think about death on a daily basis, especially not how it's going to happen to me. Although, then again, it might be one of those things you don't really think about until it happens to you. Although, I will say every once in a while when I'm doing something particularly risk-seeking or watching some death-defying stunts, and so to speak, I'm like, oh yeah, imagine what that would be like if you are rock climbing and then the rope breaks and you slip and then you're falling. You got that like 2 seconds of air time. Like, what are your last thoughts going to be? I don't know. Well, hopefully I never have to actually answer that question. But the point of what is the leading cause of death is that by the numbers, it looks like, yeah, Richard Hart is correct. I pulled up, what is the CDC? Yeah, CDC says heart disease, 702,000, cancer, 608,000, accidents / unintentional injuries, 225,000. So pretty big drop off there really quick with leading to heart disease and cancer. I don't know about you guys. I might date myself a little bit, but I remember in elementary school, middle school, and high school, there was always a lot of outside groups or like teaching about how working out is super important because it was working out to not be fat and stay fit, and then also smoking is like the leading cause of lung cancer. And it was like those were the big two things that they harp on. And I mean, it's in conjunction with the data, so it makes sense. But at the same time, it's like those are definitely later in life things that, I mean, I don't think anybody here is over the age of 40. So we're probably not thinking about this too much. But at the same time, the whole point of the longevity chapter is kind of saying like, we're all very focused on saving money and saving time now, but if you're not saving your health for the future, then what good is saving all this stuff for the future if you're not going to be alive or healthy enough to enjoy it?
That's an excellent point. Who else has got thoughts? Who thinks about death? Sam, I know that you've been in near-death situations before many a time. What do you think often or differently about death, my brother?
You know, I will have to say that I do not look at death the same way, or at least the closeness, proximity of death after I climbed towers. Sort of maybe desensitized myself to it. And I could say you could extrapolate the lesson of tower climbing out to life, right? So when you're on a tower, if you are thinking about the ground and you hitting the ground, you're thinking about the wrong things. If you think about what's in front of you and you maintain control over what's in front of you, you don't have to worry about the ground. So I would say, I would just extrapolate that lesson out to the rest of your life and like focus on the problems you need to solve now, take care of the things now, and like not like disregard the future, but do the right things now that will just solve the right problems in the right order and worry about the death thing later. For myself, no, I don't think about death hardly ever because I'm
You're in the power of now.
yeah, that's
Power
right.
now, baby.
Personally, I really don't think about death too often. Nor do I think about like getting cancer or heart attack or anything. If anything else, I'm just worried about, wrecking my liver and then dying from that. That's about it.
Okay, excellent. Farmer J or Mrs. McGinn. Actually, Farmer J, I'm gonna toss this over to you because when we were in the green screen for the folks at home who like obviously you guys can't hear what we're talking about in the green screen. I was commenting on Farmer Brown's profile picture on Telegram, and it is what looks like a bomb suit or a beekeeper outfit, and it's meant to protect the user from electrical outbursts and things, which is similar to Farmer J's line of work. So, Farmer J, do you often think about death and dying both in your profession or just as like a function of what can I do to make myself last longer?
As far as like on a daily basis, if I worry about death, no. Like, have I thought about death and like what happens after? Like, yeah, I think we would all be lying to ourselves if we like hadn't thought about what happens after we die or dying. Like, not necessarily that we worry about it on a daily basis, but like in my line of work, like when I'm doing certain stuff that is considered potentially a hazard, no, I try to take every precaution that I can, like known safety measures to prevent anything from happening. Uh, but I understand that there's a risk, and I understand that we should all think about death, not necessarily because we're scared of it, because we need to plan for it. Like, we're all going to die.
Yep.
Like if we have assets or family, like do we want to burden our family with the details of us getting buried? No, we shouldn't do that, right? At this point, like, they're alive and we're dead, so they're the ones that are grieving. So why put something else on their plate that they shouldn't have to? Like, we all know we're gonna die, so we should all plan for it. Whether it be planning your burial, whatever you want to happen to you after you die. Like, you shouldn't leave those choices up to your family. You should already plan for that and have that all accounted for and written down and in paper, so that when you die, your wishes take place with what you want happening with your assets and yourself. So I think it like death, it's an important part of life because we should all understand that our life is all coming to an end, right? But that doesn't mean that we have to sit here and dwell on it. We should enjoy the time we have here on earth. Like enjoy it. Like, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. That's one thing you're not gonna escape. But while you're here, you should enjoy life. Life is a beautiful thing, right? We should enjoy it here. Like, all of us here on this panel, we all have our limbs and we can all walk, right? There's some people on this earth that can't do that. Like whatever we have, we should be grateful in life and enjoy it, but also understand that it comes to an end, and we should always have a plan for when we get there. But hopefully, we become very rich with richer hard coins, and we can get in this longevity thing. Because
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, time is the most finite thing that a human has. Like, nobody escapes and nobody can extend that, which is what RH is trying to say, that you can, right? So the entire idea, though, is that even if you were to extend it, it is still finite. So naturally, our human minds are always going to be thinking at one point, it's going to be over. It's going to be done, So yeah, I agree with Farmer J. You need to learn how to not only, work to gain back time, basically. So you're leveraging whatever means. In our case here in this type of society, it's like money, right? To leverage to be able to buy back your time and then use that time to do the things that are most important to you as a human being, right? Just an interesting thought.
I like it. I definitely agree, Nate. When you were talking about like the time being and you and Jay say this all the time on the DGen Roundtable, that, and we try and sign off all of our episodes like this, that time is your most valuable asset. So we appreciate you guys spending your time here with us. We all get about 30,000 days of life. It's about 4,000 weeks, something pretty close to like 2.5 billion or 3 billion heartbeats. That's the amount of life that you get as of right now. So hopefully, like, you know, with the forward progression of medical technology, one of the things that Aubrey was talking about during his post is that like we can get people closer to living to about 120, but most people don't live to be about like past the 100-year mark or past the 120-year mark. Like there's a super steep decline back there, but we're getting people to live longer up until that point. It used to be that like the mortality average was like, you know, in the 60s, and now it's in the 70s. So like we've made progression since even the 1990s or whatever, which is something that Richard quotes in the book. But that's the thing that I wanted to cover that you had mentioned, Nate. And then Farmer Jay, you were speaking about death as being like a very real like people can't run from this sort of like problem. It is a problem that exists. You know, you're going to die and other people are going to have to deal with it. One thing that happened to me lately was one of my grandfathers passed away, and he was not necessarily ready to die. Like there wasn't a whole lot of stuff taken care of in the will. There wasn't like a whole lot of like money set aside to like take care of my grandmother. There wasn't like a whole plan for everything. And so my father and my aunt had to like step up and take care of all of these arrangements. And it was a huge burden. It was a huge tax on them to be able to do so. Unfortunately, they were able to like pull together and they made stuff happen and they got it all squared away after about 6 months. But like, it's a huge logistical nightmare when someone dies, and it's the survivor's affair. It's not your affair. You know, when I die, it's the people who like are underneath my wing, or the people that are like closest to me that are going to be most affected by it. I'm not going to be affected by it. I won't care anymore.
Dead. Yeah, you're dead. Like once you're dead, you're dead. Like
yep. Absolutely. But it's incumbent on me to make that experience as painless and as smooth transitioning as possible for them, right? So like the more that I do on the front end to take care of this problem that is inevitable, that is coming, that is going to happen, like I'm going to die, right? The more effort we put into solving this problem as individuals, the less that other people have to bear the burden of that responsibility, accountability, and authority. So like just from a good what would you call it? Like good social or good etiquette or like, you know, just being a decent person and not putting undue burdens on other people. It's important to think about these problems from like a solution oriented mindset, where it's like we don't dwell on it to feel sad or to feel angry about anything. We dwell on the thought of death to be like, how do I solve this? What are the steps that I need to take in order to like live longer, so that way I can like forego this and I can do more cool things and make the world a better place for a longer period of time. Like, how do I live longer? How do I take care of the admin and logistics or the finances or the planning period or the willing or the trusts or like all of this stuff? There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into death that people often don't think about. I would highly recommend folks at home that you guys take the time to like not look on it to dwell on the negative emotion, but to look at it as like, this is a problem that needs to be solved, and it's relevant for everybody, right? So just some food for thought and some things to think about. So thank you for reminding me about that, Farmer Jay.
Yeah, like me, like I was just gonna say, when I go, like I don't want to be a burden on the people that care about me. Like that's honestly like I just think most people don't want to acknowledge the fact that we're gonna go someday. So it's like something they postpone on planning for, but it's the only thing that's certain. But like I think like we think that we're gonna live forever and we're not. And like the quicker we acknowledge that we're not and put in our affairs in order, the more freeing and liberating it is. That's like one thing off your plate. Like it just is. Once you put all that in place, it's like something you no longer have to worry about. And some like a burden that you don't have to leave to your loved ones, because that is who you're gonna burden. The people that you love and the people that love you.
I like it. Will, I had a question for you about the longevity thing. I think the book really posits two different topics when it comes to longevity. The first is just trying to live longer, like have more years on your life, like add those extra weeks to the 8,000 to the, was it 4,000 that you were talking about?
Yep, 4,000.
But the other half of that question is, okay, you can live longer, but if you just torture yourself longer, is it worth it? And that's where you get to quality of life for a longer period of time. So based on when you were going through this book, do you think that SciVive is talking more about just trying to add on years or try to make years better that already exist?
I think that it's both. And if you had to pick one, that it would be to make the years that you have better and like higher leverage, waste less of the time, because we can try to extend the life, but like, who knows if we're going to get there? Who knows if we're going to succeed? So you can see that as like a hopeful optimist. At least this is just my interpretation, by the way. You can see that as like a hopeful, optimistic goal where it's like, I generally want to move forward and live longer, right? We can't necessarily, if we can like control if we live longer or not, we can like to a certain degree, like you were talking about earlier, not smoking, or whoever was talking about it earlier, like not smoking and working out. Yeah, that was you. Not smoking and working out. Like those are the like two of the biggest like preventative maintenance things you can do to make like those to attack those two particular problems, right? We can't control if we're hit by a bus. We can't control like tornadoes or lightning striking us down or whatever. We can sort of control falling off a tower, right? But like there's a lot of things that are inside of our control. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control, and you have a much better ability, a much higher leverage to change the effect of, can I have a better quality of life for the time that I'm alive versus can I live longer? I would say that there's probably a pretty heavy correlation between the two. So if you're doing the things that generally enable people to live longer, then you're probably going to have a better quality of life. And I'm sure that there's some sort of like nuanced interpretation. And, obviously, like if you go too far to one end of the bell curve or the other, then you'll run into like anomalies and all sorts of craziness. Like obviously you shouldn't be doing like a crazy amount of push-ups you shouldn't be doing 10 million push-ups every day to stay fit and in shape. So that way you live longer.
Only
right?
1,000.
There's an extreme, right? There's a point of diminishing returns, right? Like Ronnie Coleman, for instance, the super duper bodybuilder guy, the black gentleman who like he got super crazy big and buff, and he won like all these like Mr. Olympia titles and everything. But after all that stress and all that tear that he did on like doing physical things that make you healthy, like it destroyed his spine, and he had to go get like his spine basically fused together, so he has like a single spine as opposed to like the different columns and bending, and he's sort of kind of wheelchair bound, but not really nowadays. Like there's an extreme to all of this. Like you can drink too much water, you can drink not enough water, and you can drink like a healthy amount of water. So I think that sort of principle should be applied to this kind of thing. And I think that if folks had to choose between the two, if they had to choose between longer life or better quality of life, then I would tend to lean towards the better quality, simply because you have a higher likelihood of affecting the result than the other one, which like you won't know until it's over anyways, right? So
that's very true. When it came to this topic in particular, I don't think Richard Hart gives a clear example of which one he thinks is more valuable, but I do think he does have it's a realist take, which is that he talks about genetics and your lineage a good bit, which is that realistically, the thing that you in your life should pay attention to the most is the medical issues of your parents and your grandparents, because odds are the way that they die is probably how you're going to die, especially when it comes to something like cancer or something genetic. Odds are, because you are their child and you share their DNA, your code is the same as their code, which means that you're probably going to encounter the same issues unless you die in some sort of like unrelated, like very low probability thing, like in a car accident or something like that. So I think that it's a little bit cynical, which is that I think that Richard Hart would say that you're pretty much on a trajectory from birth based on everything there. You can try to alleviate some of the causes or some of the causes that are going to create issues later on down the road, but at the same time, you're going to be limited by the hardware you got. You got what you got, and you can't really change it. You can do things to prevent certain things coming down the road, but at the same time, though, I don't know. It seems like you only got what you got. You can't really change it too much. You can try to extend it or try to alleviate some of the things, but even if you solve one issue, you're going to run into another at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And this kind of, I think that this would tie a little bit into the whole Jocko Willink 100% account of not 100% accountability. What's the thing that he talks about?
Extreme ownership.
Extreme ownership.
That's the one. So like you got what you got, and you can't like you can adapt it a little bit, but like you can't change the core components. So definitely like focusing on those things. And Nate, I'm actually going to toss it over to you here in a second, because you had a really good comment in the private chat about biology and stuff. Like there's ways that people can like sort of kind of hack their way past this, right? Is that where you're going to drive this conversation?
Yeah.
Nate?
So what Richard Hurt was talking about is that, you know, investing in biotech companies can save you, but no, you're not going to sell so that the company can continue to use the investment. So basically what he's talking about is invest into like biotech companies, right? So that way they can invent a way to prolong your life, right? To extend it and all that. And what I thought was funny is he starts going in on talking about how, oh, you really shouldn't be, you know, investing in like computers or anything like that. You should instead be focusing on biology and extending you, the human being, right? Because we are biological, right? Now, I've actually got an argument for that. And while he was talking, SJ was talking, you know, reading the book out to me, I'm like, no, Sir Richard, you are wrong. And unfortunately, yeah, that little wind jar of his, it's going to have to go over to mine. Sorry.
How dare you?
Right. As soon as you get into the whole idea of like downloading your consciousness into like, say, or not even your, I mean, that's going a little bit further, right? But just like the whole idea of just like moving your brain to like a robot, right? And now you're like cyberpunk and all that. You could continually replace those parts. Technically speaking, even when your brain dies, okay, because that biology would end up failing eventually too, you could use the energy or transfer the energy that would be your consciousness to a replaceable brain and just have that be your new brain. And now you're fully automated, right? And technically speaking, it is still you, right? But you're living on into forever at this point.
Yeah.
And so that's a hell of an extension, by the way, because when I'm putting these step-by-steps together, that's probably a good couple thousand years out, right? So I would say it's technically better if you invest in technologies and computers rather than biology.
Well, you'll definitely, I'm willing to bet that you'll see more of a return and you'll see more return and more failure from investing in tech. You know, it's definitely that's definitely a sector that is just growing like exponentially, leading into the factorials almost. Like that shit is going crazy fast, crazy cool. That reminds me of that one. What was that? There's a TV show that was about like replacing stacks or whatever, where it's like your body is like not who you are. You've got this like little microchip that goes into your neck. Altered Carbon. That's the name of it. Altered Carbon, and it's like a murder mystery. Super interesting, very interesting conceptual TV show. I didn't watch it all the way through, so I have no idea what happens. You guys can spoil it for me if you want to. I don't care. But it was a really neat like thought experiment to play. Like, what if people could be like, you know, downloaded or whatever? I think that they did that in Chappie too. The Neil Blomkamp South African movie where they had not the shrimps. That was District 9. The other one that he made, where it's basically a robot in consciousness, and they had that one South African band D'Antwoord, and they like downloaded one of the chicks' brains onto like a whole bunch of PlayStations or something. It was super silly.
Well, yeah, you're missing the whole selling point, which is they teach a robot to be a gangster.
Oh yes, that was the selling point of the movie. Is they teach
I'm gonna have
robot.
to see this movie now.
Yeah, dude, go watch Chappie. I don't want to ruin too much of it for you, but Chappie is it's a fun movie. You can't go wrong with like the stuff that Neil Blomkamp creates. He's got some interesting flicks down there over in South Africa. Shout out to all our South Africans. But yeah, bro, that's a good movie, and it's a neat concept. The idea of being able to download the brain. In fact, Richard talks about it for a section in this chapter. He talks about they tried to get an AI program or just like a super simple computing thing to be able to like tell the difference between two pitches and then like make some sort of like build some sort of code to be able to like have sentience after that. And then they tried unplugging the chip and plugging it into a different thing, and it didn't work. They tried taking out some useless bits of the code, and that made the whole thing get fucked. And like anytime they tried to mess with this one like original thing They couldn't get it to reproduce the effects in other like controlled environments. So there was a whole bunch of stuff going on that they didn't know. And I'm totally butchering the whole story thing. What you got, Nate?
I've actually, so I mean, do you mind, Zenith?
I go for it if this is what you want to talk about. Take it away.
All right. This was fascinating to me and really kind of sparked something up here, right? Because when the whole idea was it was some kind of electrical imprint that could possibly be quoted as the ghost in the machine or the soul inside of a machine. Now, if you're looking at the way that our brain works, right, what our consciousness is, it technically is just energy. You know, it's electrons that are just flowing, and we just simply what are they called? It's from neuron to neuron. The electrical impulses go from neuron to neuron, and then that creates basically what is going to be our thought processes, and then our thought processes become us, our ego, and all that, and then that it becomes consciousness, right? And so that right there, I was like, "Woo, that's a scary connection," you know, because now you have a digital chip that seems to have this same type of uniqueness based on energy levels that is not going to work in another bot, right? And so it's kind of like it almost brings up the question of like how unique each individual human is, right? So I was very fascinated with that too. And of course, you know, I could go on and talking about how the universe is a full flow of, you know, consciousness and energy and all that. But we'll save that for another day.
Godless heathens. Godless heathens.
It's the ether.
Well, so I think we might be like focusing on the wrong thing here, guys, because if you spend all this time working on like trying to have this longevity, and it turns out that we're able to invent some kind of Neuralink thing to just download your personality and your brain into technology, like think of how much progress we could make if we figured out how to do that. And then all of a sudden, now all these people that are super brilliant and smart solving problems can just continue doing that and build and build and build. And then next thing you know, we're going to be on Mars and all that good stuff.
But
he actually talks about that. What if, you know?
Yeah, but is that you?
That could happen. Actually, that's a little bit of an argument against AI, where what happens when AI bananas like that in IQ, and next thing you know, you have 2,000 IQ robots at the dumbest.
I will reference the following movies: Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. That's what
Sam,
happened.
you got something? Sam, it looks like you got something.
I'm good.
Oh, okay. I do like that thought though. Basically, like just the idea, like the general concept of like why spend all this time dwelling on a problem when there's probably other people that are smarter than you already working on it. It's like a sort of kind of a hey guys, stop making these sandwich apps. Oh damn it, Sam, you missed the sandwich part of the show where we were talking about Mrs. McGettit making an app for allowing people to rate and evaluate each other's sandwiches and stuff. But
and it was
okay, that was the very end of the chapter. I don't think Sam got there for that nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, we started off on a good foot. And by the way, I'm going to do a hard transition here because I noticed that we're past the hour mark of the show, and you guys know what that means. That means it's time for another giveaway. Mrs. Producer, let's try and do some super cool. I'm going to hit the share screen button. Oh man, I was sharing screen this whole time. All right, I'm going to hit the share screen button. And I'm going to click on the appropriate thing, I think. Okay, sweet. It has Lee up as the winner. All right. So I didn't know what would happen if I hit this draw again button. Mrs. Producer, can you throw me some magical sound effects while we got this draw again thing going on? Is there anything that we have on tap? Yeah, there we go. Oh, snap. Look at that. The Ascending Man.
It was rigged.
Everybody, it was rigged this whole time.
I wanted 69 DRT.
Excellent. Yes. Mr. Nate McGettit, congratulations, my friend. You are getting 69 DRT. So go ahead and hop on over into the Telegram. Send me your condom wallet or something like that, and I will send you 69 DGen Roundtable tokens from my public wallet, will.pls. So oh shit, I should have given you a warning, Mrs. Producer. I'm ending the share screen. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was my first giveaway that I've ever done using the StreamYard giveaway tool. So excellent and outstanding. Sam, I've got some catch up to do to get back to your bungalows for bachelors level of giveaway stuff, but yeah, this is freaking awesome. I'm enjoying this. This is my first one. So Mrs. Producer, I'll get you some cool ass sound drops that we can throw in there, some some wahs and some clapping and some annoying noise and things. But we're gonna go ahead and transition on over into the next topic. Actually, shoot, there's some chats that have piled up. I gotta reach over and grab my special paper. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to shout out the chats. Time to talk to the folks in the audience and say, hey guys, we appreciate you being here and we love you and all of that good stuff. So let's take a look what we got over in these chats. We've got, starting off with Mrs. Jenna Nelson. Hey Tam, aloha, Jenna Nelson. Tam, Jenna says hi. So we are here to transmit one hello to another. Good to have you with us, Jenna, and Tam as well. Next up, we got Mr. RH Max. If someone is working on doing great big things in the world, or if someone is working on doing great big things in the world, is different than somebody who wants personal fulfillment and to find satisfaction in that. There's no wrong answer, but goals can lead actions. Okay, so I think that I read that wrong because I'm having a hard time grammaring right now. But basically, if I understand correctly, RH Max, what you're saying is that there's two different potentials here. People could either be finding personal fulfillment, or people can be chasing big crazy stuff. And both of those things are acceptable and cool things to do. And I, good sir, agree with you quite heartily. There's people in the world who are going to be chasing dragons, and there's people who are going to be having great times and spending like lots of their time with their loved ones, and herding cats and doing other cool things. So you're absolutely right. And then finally, in our chat shoutouts, we have our very own Mr. Fast Abdul with a whole bunch of camels. Shout out to Fast Abdul. He has created a new Telegram. For those of you guys who don't know, Mr. Fast Abdul has created a new Telegram called the Camel Clan, which I'm not really sure what it is. There's a whole bunch of memes about camels, and so I'm having a fun time. I hopped on over there. Shout out to the Camel Clan. Shout out to Fast Abdul, one of our favorite
delicious camels.
Yep,
Very
one of our favorite fellow
camels.
streamers over there, Mr. Fast Abdul, keeping Pulse Chain silly and fun the whole time. I will say I quite enjoy all the chats that Fast Abdul does and all his silly trollings and outfit changes. So shout out to Fast Abdul, and shout out to Zenith's cat, who I see is enjoying some good attention. We see the tail on screen.
If I don't appease the beast, she will try to tear down the green screen. She's already tried it twice. I don't want to go for a third time.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to get you. Mr. Zenith, I see here in the private chat that you are talking about disagreements on the application of longevity and health stuff. Is that
Sure,
something
that
that you wanted to broach up? I'm going to toss it over to you, bro.
It's actually kind of at the core of what RH Max was talking about in his comment there, which is that it's kind of this unspoken assumption in the beginning of this chapter in particular. I mean, it's the longevity chapter, so it's kind of stating the idea that the goal is to try to live longer, and therefore, if you're living longer, you should try to do things that promote that or that sort of activity within humanity. But then it also is in contradiction with stuff at the end of the chapter, which is the infamous sandwich app quote, trying to tell people that you have better uses of your time doing things other than making a sandwich app, and that you have better things to do than invest in some random tech company into a biotech company that's going to prolong lifespan theoretically. I think it's the unspoken assumption that everything in this chapter is very much aligned and focused on the goal of improving quality of life for humans at large, and then trying to extend human life itself at large as well. It doesn't answer the question of why do people do anything, or do you have a responsibility to do anything, which is kind of also posited a little bit in the chapter earlier as well, which is that I think I can't remember if it was either your quote or my quote, but is one of the ideas that if you are walking down the street and you see someone choking, that you have some sort of medical responsibility to help, or if that person dies because of inaction that you took, that it is your fault as well. In my mind, it felt like a very weird application of the extreme ownership principle, which I understand. However, that is an argument that you put upon yourself, not is an argument that is put upon you, which is that you can only step into the light and assume responsibility for things as an effort to try to do something larger than you. If you are telling people at large that they have some sort of moral requirement to care or assist for other people, I think that's a very large and difficult, it's a rift that you have to cross, because it's not saying that you it's actually demanding action is what it is. Is it's saying that some sort of cult or fault or consequence is on you for either not doing a thing or doing a thing, even though it is entirely fixed on the outcome and the actions of like the health of another person. Does that make sense? This is a theme that I saw throughout the chapter that I wanted to get your guys' take on, which is that it very much seems that Richard Hart is kind of trying to impose the idea that you have some sort of like buy-in or responsibility to help others people's health and help promote human health in general as kind of like a nebulous concept.
Yeah, so the idea that I'm getting out of this is he's kind of focusing, he's not being neutral, he's trying to push morality onto us. And here's the thing. So if you pass by someone who's choking and you do nothing, because maybe you think somebody else will do it. Maybe the reason why you passed by was because you are not confident in your ability, in your competency to be able to help them in the first place. So maybe that's just a lack. And like, okay, so then you have to look at like the objectiveness of it. So if you take a step back and you don't look at morals, right? Selfishness is a human trait that has helped us survive for 300,000 years. One of these selfish things that you'd be doing is walking past saying to yourself, I'm not going to help that person because I don't know if I can in the first place. But secondly, maybe they're trying to do something. Maybe they're going to harm me in some way. Maybe it's a fake, right? So there's always that idea as well. And is that morally wrong? No, that's just survival. So yeah, I was a little uncomfortable with the idea that he is trying seemingly, let's keep it like that. But it was seeming like he was trying to push morality on us,
To kind of flip it on you a bit, I think it's actually not pushing morality, but it is lack of morality in trying to break down the issue. Because once you start dealing with morals and like you're making ought statements or like you should or it is good for you to do something, as opposed to just like trying to deal with human health and then trying to objectively and rationally just trying to make sure that the literal number of years people live is long. Again, I think it kind of goes back to my notion about this book, which is that this is very much a 50% solution. We're trying to reach as many people as possible, which is that it's not trying to tell you what you should or should not do with your life, which is why I go back to the whole sandwich thing, which is like, if you want to dedicate your life to building the sandwich app, you have the ability to, and arguably there's not really a moral objection for you not to do so. You are pursuing your own goals, not at the behest of someone else. So when it comes to do you have to help other people medically, I think you hit it right on the head, which is that putting the moral question aside, you don't know so many things that it's hard to make that decision and that judgment.
I will say that, and perhaps this is my middle ground opinion here, I think that I would want to live in a world or a tribe or a society or a culture in which other people would feel the need to be responsible to help me if I was choking. And by that like reasoning of like, if I want to be in a place, I want to be similar to the place that I'm in. If I see someone else who's choking, or if I see someone else who's like on the street suffering in some sort of way or dying or whatever, like I would like to think that I would hop in there and help them, because I want to live in a world where people help each other, expecting no sort of like fucking what, like just to help other people, right? I like that concept. I like that idea. And I will say that it is kind of a bastardization of the concept of extreme ownership. And I'll also say that like most people don't do things most of the time. Most people pass opportunities by. Most people like they choose not to make a choice for most every decision that we come to. Making like a hard no or a hard yes, like decision fork. Those are the two difficult things to do. The easiest thing to do in almost any circumstance is just choose, I'm just going to choose not to make a decision. In which case, like the de facto result is the same as making like a negative choice or like a hard no decision. It's like when I'm walking past someone choking in a restaurant and I see them choking, I don't think to myself, I'm not going to save that person. Fuck him. I don't think that. I think like, oh, well, I'm doing things. I'm going to choose not to think about it, put on my blinders or whatever the heck, and just carry on my way. Or I'm going to choose like, oh, I should probably save this person. Now it's time for me to take action. most people are kind of shy or just don't know what to do most of the time, and so most people just don't take action, or they miss the opportunity, or they miss the like that slowly progressively like getting smaller time window to make a hard decision on something of that nature. So I'll say that, like, from the perspective of, you can pretty much count on nobody doing anything most all the time. Like, if you see someone choking and you're the one that is like able to save them, you can pretty much count on nobody else doing it, especially if you're in like large crowds and shit. So I would say that, like, the de facto decision to not make a decision having the same result as the choosing to actively avoid it, like, that's a mechanism of interpretation. And I will say that, you know, Richard is kind of interpreting this like from a very like extreme perspective, but I think that there is nuance to it. And while he might not like cover that thought in the book, I'd be curious to see the stream that he was doing where he talked about this sort of thing, because like we've said before, most of SciVive is pulled from Richard Hart, like, stream of consciousness, where he's been doing like YouTube streams talking about a topic of conversation. And so he might have just mentioned it like flippantly in casual conversation or something like that, and then it got, you know, codified into book form, and now it's like this concept that we're sitting here dissecting. But yes, Zenith, that was a quote that I had noticed as well. Nate, you got something in Zenith as well, so take your turn, boys.
Mine is super quick. What I wanted to say was that the fact that, Will, you said I would want to have somebody help, right? That right there is an actual human instinct. It's the social human instinct that has caused humans to go from monkeys, basically, right, to the society that we are now. It is because of that alone. That was all.
No, Nate, that was exactly the point I was going to touch on, which is that I think, like, all of us here would be lying to ourselves, I think, if we said we didn't want to live in a society where people wanted to help each other and wanted to go out of their way to help people in times of crisis or emergency, because it at large is like a positive EV play for society at large. Because if you want other people to do that and you're willing to do it for others, it means that you're also hoping that someone is also going to reciprocate and do the same thing for you. The reason that I bring up this point now is I don't want to just like argue semantics about like morality and like relativistic morality and whatever. But the point is, I think that this was a theme that I saw with a few of the different topics throughout the book, or this chapter in particular, is that there's kind of an assumption about what is the good or what ought to be done about certain things, but it doesn't actually like tackle the question of like, does anyone have like a responsibility or an onus to do it, so to speak. And I think you can see that later on. You can see it later on with the question when he talks about like, I think it's like, I can't remember if he specifically called for governments to give healthcare to citizens, but he was absolutely railing against health insurance companies. And it's like, I understand where the conversation comes from and where it's going, but I think it's just ignoring a lot of like outside, very important details as well. And it's asking what is kind of fundamentally a political question, which is that what is the responsibility of the citizenry versus the government, and who has the power and authority to do what?
I got a quick take on that. As far as should we help anybody, or do we have a responsibility? No, fuck no. The only responsibility you have is to yourself. But as humans, do we want to live in a society, like you guys said, that believes that? Like, I don't think anybody wants to live in that kind of society, right? So if we want a certain outcome from society, then it is our responsibility to make sure that we create that society as humans, right? Like, nobody's going to make it for us. If we want to say that we're civil and then we're advanced past that stage of evolution, right? Then if we want to make that kind of community, then it's the members in the community that have to make that happen. Like, we have to make, like, whatever values we have to live by. And if we're not, then we're just going to go back to savages, right? So, like, it's nobody's responsibility to look for anybody else. But like all of you guys said, like, that's a sad reality to live in. Like, if you're going to live in that kind of reality, it's just a shitty system to live under. Now, where we live with, where people want to help each other and stuff, that creates a more a better society for everybody. After, like, I think, and that's I think where we're all after, right? A better society for everybody, because if it benefits everybody else, it also benefits ourselves.
I hear you, Farmer. I think the best way to summarize what I'm trying to get at here is that we all clearly want this sort of environment, and we want to live in a society where people are willing and able and want to help assist other people. But you have to come down to are the reason that people doing these things because there is some sort of value that has been proposed that is rewarded, whether monetarily or just like through a good pat on the back for like, hey, you were great, you're a good Samaritan, you really helped save that guy's life. Hell yeah, great job. Or the other side of that is that if you are required to do so, then that means if you fail to meet a requirement, that there has to be some sort of punishment, fine, retribution, or whatever, which is that it's this line of you are trying to aspire to a value to better yourself and society and your fellow man, as opposed to you're trying not to be like brought down or punished for failing to do so. So it's like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, I think the only thing we have nowadays, right, or we've always had in human history, right, if you fail to do something, right, you're kind of ostracized from your community. If like community expects this from this group of people and you fail to do so, then you're basically excommunicado. Like the community, like if you're not good for the community, like, yeah, the community should drop you, because at the end of the day, like, you're not a benefit to the community, and people in a community should be a benefit to to everybody there, and everybody's a benefit to you. Like, it's kind of selfish, but I think most people do it out of selfishness, right? Like, if the community is thriving and you're in it, then you're also thriving. And it's not more than you do it for other people. It's just that you understand that the overall good for everybody else also benefits you. And that should be a motivating factor, right? Because, like, let's not lie here to ourselves, right? Like, everybody here, like, your number one priority is yourself, as you should be, because nobody's going to care about you the way you do.
Absolutely, broski. I like that. That was good. And I like when you were talking about, like, basically people that don't do good community stuff become excommunicado. Like, it's not necessarily always malice that leads to that sort of thing. Sometimes it's incompetence, sometimes it's negligence, and we can't really control the zeitgeist of the people that are around us, like, to a crazy large extent. Like, sometimes, folks will just get angry at you for whatever the heck reason. Like, maybe you don't agree with them on something, or maybe they get bad information somewhere. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that can lead to a group of people kicking out a person. And, like, fairness is a negotiation tactic. And that's from a book that we'll cover later on after SciVive or something. I guess it's going to be one of the books that I cover. More details on that to follow. But the what was I talking about? Excommunicado and people kicking out others and how it's not necessarily fair. I
was gonna say that's a good example of an incentive structure that is not like law based.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like I don't owe you morality, right? But if I do moral things, then, like, there's positive, like, interaction. It's not like a debt system. It's like an unspoken debt, or it's just a good human interactivity system. I suppose it's debt in the sense of, like, social debt, as opposed to, like, monetary debt, or, like, a person who man, I don't know how to describe it. Sam, this is actually a good question to toss over to you, because you've read the book Debt before, and I remember you talking to me about it from time to time. Can you explain kind of like the way that debt works on a societal level and things of that nature? Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, I could talk about it a little bit. Basic summary is that debt is when you have a transaction between two people. If you want a relationship bond to be created, then you create debt. If you want there to not be a relationship bond, then you avoid debt. And so if you go out to dinner with somebody and they want to pay exactly 50-50 or whatever, like, and they're absolutely, like, not going to let it go any other way, they don't want to accept any debt from you. And when you expand that out to a societal level, if you have a whole bunch of people who are willing to, like, go into debt with each other, it creates a whole bunch of bonds and relationships of people that, like, everybody ends up kind of relying on each other. And it's like, we're all just kind of moving this debt back and forth, and helping each other out. That's the summary, I would say.
That's good. I like that. And that concept can be applied to the morality and the idea of, like when we were talking about walking past the choking person earlier. the person walking past does not owe anything to the choking person. But if they save that person's life, then that person whose life is saved now has this debt to the guy who saved the life. And then maybe he'll like repay the debt like in some crazy other way that helps the other guy. And then that guy
He'll give
feels
him
a
some
sense of
pulse.
obligation. He'll give some pulse, or he'll send him 69 DRT. Speaking of Lee, send me a message, broski. T.W/Will Stevenson. I do not have an address for you. I just sent Nate his 69 DRT tokens. So
I would personally say that the person that got saved more as an owes a debt to society. If that's the society we should try to strive to live at, right? Like you don't necessarily owe a debt to the person that saved your life, whereas in you owe a debt to the society and hold, and if you can ever pay it forward, then you should take it upon yourself to do that if you're ever presented with that opportunity. But like I don't think that like you necessarily owe owe a debt to that person, right? I don't. Me personally, like if I saw somebody choking and I gave them the high leg maneuver and I saved them, I wouldn't feel that person owes a debt to me. It was just I was there and that was just the right thing to do.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I'm not saying that the person doing the kind thing would feel the sense of debt. I like the thing that I'm implying here, or the thing that I'm trying to drive at, is that the person whose life was saved, they will feel this. They will feel like an incredible amount of gratitude and if somebody hopefully, yeah. And this is presuming that we live in a good society, right? If the person doesn't feel an incredible amount of gratitude and just kind of walks off and is like, oh, that's not a person who's a team player, I don't have to invest a whole lot in them because they're not going to invest a whole lot in me, right? So like each of these two scenarios communicates like the type of person that you're dealing with. If you save the person from choking and they're super happy and they give you a big hug and they bring you like a fantastic Christmas dinner, or they like, I don't know, fucking give your kid a scholarship to go to the tennis college or whatever, right? Like there's different ways that they would feel an obligation to bring you as much joy and wealth of existence, and that's the whole concept and the idea of debt. That's actually a book that we're going to be covering as well. I'm going to read that one, and I will host that as well sometime in the near future. But
I think one of the good ways to put how people should feel is it's the debt of gratitude, which is that they're very thankful for the person. Even if they for somehow choke and go unconscious and they need CPR. Fun fact, if you perform CPR on a person, you will break their sternum if you're doing it correctly. It's like at the end of the day, the person is happy that they're revived. They're not mad that like their sternum got broken in the process. They're happy to be alive, and they're thankful to the person. And I think it goes back to, you could call it operating in a high trust society or a high trust culture or community where it's not expected, but it's rewarded and praised, whether through like, I don't know, you could like maybe cook the guy dinner or something, or like help their family out. But I think it kind of ties into another concept that Richard talks about in the book, which is that these are certain things that you have to either train, or there are other things that can't be trained per se, but they have to be like learned through other means. And I mean, to bring it back to the beginning of the conversation, which is that one of the ways that you can help encourage this stuff inside of a culture or community is through the media that you consume and the media that you produce, which is that if you produce media that has the values you're trying to instill, that's one of the ways that you can sort of like train the people around you, or train yourself and your family, and really hone in on those focuses. It's not that you have to do things out of fear of punishment, but it's that these things are seen as heroic or virtuous or good, and that you can accomplish this through any of those means, whether it's media literally talking about it or seeing it in person happen and then be rewarded, but more importantly, not punished.
That's a good transition right there. How you brought up well done, because I was looking for a point to go to the next topic. You were speaking about the quote that more or less Richard Hart wrote, that is, controlling your environment is much higher leverage than training to deal with it. And this actually reminds me of an OSHA 10 class that I did a long time ago. And I'll go ahead and reiterate for the folks at home who have never done a ground safety manager's course or an OSHA 10 course or anything that talks about risk mitigation. There's three general ways that you can mitigate risk. The first thing, and the most effective, is to engineer the risk out of the equation, to remove the risk totally, right? If you if your car is dangerous, you put like you are, well, shoot, that's a bad example. The seatbelt is a bad example. Your car is barreling down the high. Oh shoot, you've changed my aspect ratio. Now I got to change my camera angle. Oh man, you can see where I smacked my head really hard earlier today. Anyways, your car is barreling down the highway, and there's a danger, and you're about to hit a brick wall. So the way to engineer the problem out of the equation is to remove the brick wall. That's the first thing to do. The second thing to do is to like create administrative control measures that make it so that you can follow a set of instructions that will allow you to not have to deal with this risk. So, hey, when you see a brick wall coming when you're going down the road, then you need to like get off of the road and avoid the brick wall. That's an administrative measure. That's like using plans and using systems and using understanding to basically remove the like not remove the problem, but to find a way to deal with it or go around it. And the third option is to use protective equipment, which is like where your seatbelts and airbags come into play. Again, so like the most effective mechanism for dealing with problems is engineering them out of the situation. And when Richard Hart is talking about that controlling your environment is much higher leverage than training to deal with it, what he's talking about is basically like focus on engineering the problem out of the equation. Focus on removing the issue totally, as opposed to getting some sort of way to react to it when it does happen, or to like wear some sort of protective equipment or find some sort of protective measure without like removing the problem itself. So that's what came to mind there, Mrs. Producer. Thank you. You would bring me back. I'm about to toss it off to the rest of the panel members here. What are some things that you guys think of that are problems in people's life where people are training to solve the problem when instead they could be removing the problem entirely from relevance? So like what are some things that people do often that is a waste of time because they could just be eliminating the need to do so and focusing on better things with their time? Risk mitigation, problem management, anything. Farmer Jay, take it away.
I'll take it like you said, risk mitigation, right? You saw that suit I was wearing earlier, right?
Yes.
Now, there is no actual way to mitigate the risk of turning on your gear. So, I mean, there's no way of eliminating, so you can mitigate it. You can do all your checks, and then you can wear the proper PPE, right?
Yep.
Where I can eliminate risk, if there's something I need to do that I don't necessarily need to have energized, I can go lock it out and completely eliminate the risk of it being energized.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's times when you can mitigate risk, but you should always try to eliminate them. Your first option, the first option you should always go to is eliminating the risk if possible. If not, mitigate, but always aim for elimination of the risk.
For the folks at home who don't understand lockout tagout principles, who might not know what that means, and also like for the folks at home who don't know, you're an electrician who deals with very, very dangerous power stuff, right? Allegedly. So that's what you're talking about when you're talking about turning on your gear and stuff. You're talking about like flipping on those big giant breakers or whatever that power the whole fucking city.
Yeah,
right?
Yes. Some of these breakers, like you can't turn them on by hand. You have to charge them, and then there's a button you press that because the breakers charge, because the amount of force it takes to turn them on is quite a bit. So the breakers themselves are energized by mechanical means, like pumping a lever up and down a few times and then hitting the start button. And if everything goes good, then it's all great. But by chance, something blows up in your face, then you want to have the proper equipment on so that you don't end with a burnt face and a melted skin all over the place. So like I said, you want to mitigate this. Yeah. But for the most part, no, you don't encounter those risks. But when they do exist, like you said, you want to mitigate them. Not that it's a high chance it's going to happen, but the potential is still there, right? Even though it's a very small percentage, like there's no reason you should take that risk. Like you only got one life, and
absolutely.
That's it.
Zenith, I want to toss it over to you to kind of explain lockout tagout, because I think that you can, because as I know you're a Coast Guardsman officer of the past, so you can probably explain lockout tagout procedures pretty damn well for the folks at home who have never heard that before. What is lockout tagout?
So what it is that if there ever is a possibility of working on a dangerous system, i.e. an electrical system, that you have to like go fix something and put your hands in all the electronics. You don't want to get shocked. So what you do is you de-energize the whole thing. You put a bunch of red tags on any part of the system that could be energized, and then you literally go take a lock and you put it on the lever that energizes the system. And the only people who can remove the tags and remove the lock is either the person who installed all of them or whoever is responsible for maintaining the system of practice. But is it important that you understand this for your everyday life? No. But the point is that there's a system for reducing and mitigating risk, which is that this is one of the ways, it's an example of building a system to prevent potential harm. It's not that you told everybody around, hey, I'm going to be working on this, nobody touch it. That's a very risky way of doing it, because the possibility of failure is still exists. It exists, and it's probably high. But if you go to a system, specifically an engineered system like this, where all of the possible inputs and outputs are tagged visibly, brightly, and a log is kept, and there is a specific system that everyone is aware of and knows how to operate within, that is the best way to mitigate and reduce that risk as close as you can down to zero. So when we're talking about this in regards to the SciVive chapter, this is where we kind of get like the literal practical longevity part, which is like how to physically live longer, aka how to not die young. And it's like one of the quotes that Richard has is, if this is your goal, then drive the safest car at the safest times on the safest roads at the safest places. It's like, yes, the literal way to not die is to take the fewest amount of risks. You can do that with either the car example, or you can just try to mitigate risk in your everyday life, which is that the onus is on you to stay alive. So if you are putting yourself in bad places and bad situations, you are automatically kind of assuming risk and failing at the idea of preventing death, so to speak. I know it's a very literal interpretation of it, but this is one of those practical applications that Richard dives into. So some of the practical applications is like, if you're in a building, be near an exit or know where one is at all times. If you're out with friends in a crowded environment, you should probably have a game plan in case you guys get split up. Don't loiter in dangerous neighborhoods. It's stuff like that.
Excellent.
Life's a risk.
Kind of straightforward. Basically, the only thing I'm really kind of hearing out of that is like, just be competent. You know, the whole idea is you literally just think, okay, where am I? What am I doing? And then what's around me? I mean, maybe that's too simple, right? But that's really all it kind of is.
That's true. I mean, this is kind of one of those things where it's like, oh shit, I think I had a quote for this one. It was, realize that bad things happen to everyone. No one is immune from the probabilities. So like, you might think that nothing bad is ever going to happen to you because you're a good noodle and you always follow the rules. Cool. That doesn't mean everyone else is doing the same thing all the time. Should theoretically people not like violate your rights or come hurt you in some way? Yeah, theoretically they should. However, that's not how everyone operates all the time. Therefore, the possibility of bad things happening to good people always exists. So you got to understand that if you were walking down the dark alleyway waving $100 bill over your head, it's kind of on you at that point if someone does run up and try to mug you, because you knowingly put yourself in a high risk situation. It doesn't mean that other people are not wrong or immoral for perpetrating crimes against you, but understand that if you didn't want those crimes being perpetrated against you, the correct answer was don't put yourself in that situation.
I think there's a saying, right? There's a quote, right? So it goes something like, there's only two places that are always open after sundown: hospitals and jail.
Oof, that's kind of dark.
Yeah, but those two places are always open, right? So
I'd add in the bar too, but yeah.
No, but the bar in California closes at 2, unfortunately.
Well, that's
I'm gonna do a little bit of a hard transition here. Unless if you guys want to keep talking about this, we can. But there's a fun one that I want to hop onto next, and I see that we are running a little bit short on time. So I'm going to open up this one to one of the quotes that Zenith put in for this particular chapter, and it is, not giving your DNA sequencing data to a database is only preventing future treatment for yourself. So, Mr. Zenith, I had fun with this one because I was like, oh man, this is like, the 23andMe. This is like sending your stuff to ancestry.com and Tim Pool says that China's going to take all my gene data and they're going to develop a super alien that's going to come and take over America because they have access to my gene sequencing. But Richard Hart seems to think that if you don't give your DNA to these companies, then you might not know what you die of. And I think that those are. I mean, I'm mocking the political conspiracy theory one here, but I think that they're both valid points. What were your thoughts on this when you were looking at this quote?
This is one of the ones that I specifically picked out because on the face, it kind of makes sense. However, it also deals with multiple other questions that are a lot deeper than just, I should do a thing, therefore at some point in the future, there's a possibility that I might be cured for it. So if you, like, on the surface, if you provide your DNA for research and, like, I guess scientific purposes, yeah, theoretically there's a chance at some point in the future someone might come up with a solution to a problem that you might have. But again, we're talking in a lot of probabilistic terms here instead of actualities. And then it also doesn't take into account other things that you might have like moral quandaries with, or again, it could be like the political question, so to speak, which is that, do people have a right to your DNA? Are you required to provide things to other people? Are they going to provide that stuff to other people? But then at the same time, like, you can't, I know Will was kind of making fun of it, and it rightfully so should be, which is, it's one of those ideas where it's like the crazy hoarder in the basement thinks that the CIA has like bugs in his walls and are listening to him. And it's like, the reality is you are probably not important enough for the CIA or the FBI to be spying on you.
Yeah.
So it's like, A, get over yourself, but B, also that's like super intrusive. And the same thing kind of applies to this, which is like, theoretically, is you providing your DNA going to create China, going to get like China leaked to China, and they're somehow going to create, what was the last Bond movie?
Oh, dude, I don't even know.
I don't remember it because I didn't care about it.
Either way, if you've seen that movie, they like use DNA to create a super weapon that targets very specific people. It's like, is someone going to do that and target you? Odds are, unless you are a high-ranking political figure or military, like general or something, no. The answer is no. So you don't really need to worry about that. It goes back to the security question of like, understand your attack vectors and your threat vulnerabilities and the ways that people can hurt you, and also the probability that anyone is ever going to do that. So it's like, this is the downside, but at the same time, Richard Hart's talking about the potential good side, which is that, like, yeah, there are ways that you can try to hedge your bets for the future. Are they still very, very low probability bets? Yeah, absolutely. You can't bank on future technology that you can't imagine or don't know about or don't know that any research is working towards. Does it mean it's not going to happen? No. Does it mean that it's likely? Definitely not. So
you don't know that, Zenith. What if one day they target the post chain OGs? You're on the list.
I got something to say to that one, Zenith.
Yes.
Please take it away. I'm rambling here.
Your FBI agent likes you a lot. You're not onto him at all. He's just free to go, do whatever he wants. And I actually have a quote from this, and I can't remember where this came from. I want to say it was like a movie, probably a movie. But how it goes is, just because you're not paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching you. So, it's always healthy to have at least a grain of that paranoia in you. So that at the very least, you're aware of what's going on around you. But I mean, yeah, you're right. They probably don't anyways make these robotic termites that they insert into everyday humans' walls. They'd have to have a pretty valid reason to want to watch us if they were to go to such lengths as to do that.
Yeah, I think I'm honestly with you on this one, which is that, is it safer to hedge your bets more in the security area? Yeah, odds on, yes. At the same time, though, like, is it possible that you could be benefited by certain things? Yes, but then also the question is up to you at that point. How much of your privacy and your secrecy or your access to your important information are you willing to trade away for future benefit or gain? That's a legitimate question that I think individuals have to answer on their own.
Yep. Are you going to agree to those terms and conditions on your phone when it says, hey, are you going to allow me to access your location? Are you going to allow me to access your computer? Odds are, like, most people aren't important enough for, like, anything other than advertisers buying bulk data to be spying on, and like,
yeah,
like, oh no, somebody knows where I am. Oh, whoop-de fucking do. Like, people, sorry. I'm not going to go on a rant here. Take it away, Mrs. McGinnis. You got something.
Oh, I just wanted to add in that I had a biology teacher back in high school who was given. I think this was when the technology was still pretty new for this. When they were they could gather people's DNA and then tell them, hey, these are all the possible health issues you may have, or these are all the things that you have in you that could become active or not. And she decided personally not to do it for her family because she had already had breast cancer, and to her, she didn't need to be told that her 2 daughters were carriers of that. So personally, I kind of actually agree with Richard Hart on this one. I think it's kind of a good idea because it just tells you so much about yourself that you can learn from. And I mean, honestly, who's gonna try and steal your DNA so that they can know what sicknesses you get? That just feels really strange to me. So
I think the only difference between now and when he wrote the book is the acknowledgement of how these companies sell your data. It'd be nice if you can actually know all these things, very important, without your data actually being exposed to a third party. Like, we all like our privacy, right? So even though, like you said, we're not important or anything for anybody to do with it, we should still be entitled to our privacy. And I think some of these companies just, like you said, most people didn't read the terms of service and they just massively sold all the data out, right? Like, I don't know who you are. I don't want you having my data. Now, if I pay for a service and you're going to tell me what potentially could be wrong with me between me and my physician, that's one thing. But the way it's structured now, I don't like it at all.
So there's something very important that you said in there, Farmer Jay, which was if you pay for the service, right? If you're paying for it, then odds are you're where the revenue is coming from. If something's free, then it's not really free. They're extracting some kind of value out of you, and that's where the advertising revenue, that's where the terms and conditions, that's where all the stuff. So like, and this ties back into what Sam was talking about earlier with the debt thing. If you pay for the stuff, then the debt is like free and clear.
But
if
like 23andMe and all those companies, they still sold the data, and you were paying for it, but you were like only a small percentage of the revenue. It turns out cheap because most of the revenue was coming from selling your data, which I think is kind of shady.
I think Facebook is probably the best example of what we're talking about here. Facebook takes a lot of data, but everything is free. Not only that, but there's also a lot of advertisements that flies in your face too. But that's
not
more
free.
recent.
You are the product.
Yes.
You are the thing being sold. That's excellent. Any final thoughts on this? Sam, you got anything on this? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'm good, brother.
All right, excellent. Okie dokie. I'm gonna check the private chats. Okay, headphones are acting. All right, cool beans. All right, guys, I'm gonna launch us into the into the next part, and this will be a good thing to tie off the show with. If you don't open the door, you can't be served a subpoena or punched in the face. So don't ever open your doors, folks. You heard it here from Richard Hart. Don't ever touch your doors because people will be serving you and people will be punching you in the face, and that's all you ever need to know. Keep your doors locked and don't ever answer them.
There's a great
just punching your face.
There's a beautiful irony to the fact that he wrote this before he was sued by the SEC and then played the Catch Me If You Can game with them. Like, is it a bit on the nose? Maybe a bit.
Oh, that's fucking
Get
great.
yourself a Ring camera. Never open the door.
Big fat.
What I want to say to this, is dig a hole in the ground, build a bunker underneath your house, and never come out of it. You'll be fine.
There you go.
YOLO, say no. Isolate yourself.
You will be safe.
I think that's a good point for us to tie off this show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, I want to thank all of you guys that are sitting here watching, and I want to thank my panelists for joining me on this wonderful excursion that has been SciVive for this whole thing. Real quick, I want to kind of go around the horn and ask you guys, do you have a favorite part of SciVive? Is there something that stuck out to you from the whole book that we've covered? I'm sure you're all glad that we're finally moving off of it, and I will say myself that this has turned out a little bit differently than I anticipated. But I know a lot more about SciVive now than I did at the very beginning. So painful or not, I am richer from the experience. What are your guys' thoughts on SciVive? Should people read it? Should people not read it? What'd you like about it? What'd you dislike about it? Zenith, why don't you go first, my good friend? Set the stage.
Oh gosh. All right, how about this? I will say my favorite chapter out of the book was the money chapter because it had the most concepts that were the most interesting to me and the ones that were not just like either super obvious or super shallow. And it genuinely was tackling issues of like how how can you interact with the world on the monetary level and see like financial energy moving around, and what are the most efficient ways to do that and what are less efficient ways to do that. I thought that was very interesting. For the book overall, again, I'm going to call it a 50% book, which is that I think this is written for the average Joe trying to get their life up to a good baseline. There are ways that you can extract value out of this outside of that. However, at the same time, you don't need to go listen to I think it was like chapter 9, which was 22 minutes of Richard Hart talking about what the best keyboard is for ergonomics. It's like, sure, if you really care about that, you can, or you can just go, I don't know, go about your life and not worry about it. But the thesis, the thesis for this book for me is the idea that you have a finite amount of time to live. You want to make the most efficient use of it. So don't waste your time reinventing the wheel or doing things that are not tangible to your life. They can be entertaining, but they're not going to be tangible.
Excellent. I like it. Thank you very much, Zenith. That's a good one. And I will say you've been a great sport for the duration. I know that it's been testing your patience, and that's a testament to your character, good sir. I take my metaphorical hat off to you. My brother Sam, I'm going to toss it over to you next. Do you have a particular part of SciVive that you liked a lot, and do you think that the folks at home should read it? And Centurion, have a good weekend as well, brother. Sam, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a good, entertaining, potential like good value nugget book, but I tend to be preferential towards action books. What are something that I can read that's going to give me some things that I can change right now and improve my life? And I would not say that's what I would not say that's what this book is. I think there's a lot of like great nuggets in it that like could be learned and be like, get you to thinking about certain things. But I would say like having it on the bookshelf would be cool. But I would prioritize a lot of the other ones that we have read.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. Farmer J, what were your thoughts on SciVive?
Oh, I'm also going to say, I think it's like it's a very interesting read, right? But like, how do I phrase this?
Would you spend another 20 hours of your life listening to it all again?
No, I don't think I would, but it is very interesting, and I think it's very interesting, an interesting read if you're like into the Richard Hart ecosystems to understand kind of his mindset and how he thinks and processes things, because I think for the most of us, right, he processes things a lot different from us. Then again, he's the genius, right, not us. So it's kind of like an important insight, but I think one of my favorite chapters in the book was like the mind chapter, how to get yourself to do things you don't want, or like have control over your mind. And if you have control over your mind, you have control over your life. Those are my thoughts of it. But I mean, like I said, it's a good book. I don't know if I necessarily will sit down and read it again, but like if you're just happen to have some spare time and you can listen to it while you're doing something, it's an interesting read.
Excellent. Mr. Nate McGettit Broski, what did you think about the book, and final tie-off thoughts?
Yeah, so the book is definitely an interesting one. I will say there's a lot of good gems in here, but I feel like it's very disorganized, and so to go find them is kind of like tough. And so it can get lost in the weeds real easy. And it can be a little bit boring to read because it feels like a checklist as well, However, I will say chapter 6, which was respect and influence, I would say that's definitely my favorite chapter. It really had to do a lot with interacting, and this is something that I am trying to learn in real life, right? So of course, I took it, but interacting between people and all that. And there's a few things here like, don't insult the intellect of those you're speaking with by pointing out the obvious, right? It's like, yeah, yep. I could definitely, that's one of those gems that you can kind of take and be like, all right, I can actually apply this to my life. It's those types of things that I did like about this book. Whereas the other side of things, maybe being a little bit boring and or just too straightforward, like, hey, here's something you should do, here's something you should not do. Oh, thank you for telling me the entire book. So other than that though, how about Mrs. McGettit? What'd you think?
Well, for the most part, I think the biggest takeaway that I got from this SciVive is don't waste your time on frivolous things. And I mean, I think that's really what all of the 20 hours of this thing could boil down to. For me, I would not actually call SciVive a book. It's not in print. It's not anywhere that you can buy it because Richard Hart wanted it to be free. So that does make sense in one way, but I would almost call it like a blog. It feels like a bunch of information that's just kind of been like thrown out into the ether, and he's like, let's just slap this all in somewhere. There's not really any flow to it. It doesn't really have like the normal like storytelling elements that are what make books into books. So for me, I don't think I would listen to it again personally. If I did, I would definitely go for the SJ version. I will say that much because that one is actually pretty pleasant to just toss on in the background and have listening or have it playing in the background. You can listen to it while you're going about your day. But it's definitely got some very good and valid things to say. It's very hard to sit through, especially with how long it ends up getting. It gets really long-winded. It doesn't really flow very well, so it's not something that you can really absorb very easily. You have to really kind of be into it in order to really grasp everything he's talking about. And it can take a very long time to do that too. So yeah, I guess those are kind of the big points I noticed. Overall, I think it was worth the time and effort for sure. But not something I plan on doing again.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys very much for your feedback. I appreciate it a lot. And I'm sure that Richard Hart, who is probably watching live right now because he loves the Degen Roundtable so much, is also very appreciative of the feedback. For me, I will say that I enjoyed the book a whole bunch. I will be listening to SciVive more. And I would say that this book on the 1 to 10,000 hours, like at what level of expertise a person should start listening to this book. I think that anyone between 1 and 1,000 hours of like life betterment would do well to at least spend some time pondering the things that are talked about in this book. Sam had mentioned earlier there's not a whole lot of actionable steps in it, which I think is accurate. This is more of like a philosopher's book. This is more of a thinker's book. This isn't a to-do book. It kind of like answers a lot of the whys, not the hows or the whats. So this is the placement that I would put that book in. I'm very fond of SciVive, and I will be listening to it more, and I'll keep you guys updated as I think of better things. I will say my favorite part of the book is not a chapter, it's not a section, it's not anything like that. It's one particular part in the book where Richard Hart talks about how to make a proper apology. I think that part of the book has influenced my life more than anything else that I've heard in SciVive. How to make a proper apology is something that everyone benefits from. Everyone's going to fuck up. Everyone's going to make mistakes. But the important thing is to know how to mend those mistakes and how to give people the confidence to trust you again. So learning how to make a good apology is the part of SciVive that stuck out the most to me, that meant the most to me, anything like that. So I'll be continuously listening to SciVive as I go through these years, and you guys won't have to listen to it on book club anymore. So I give you that. With that being said, it's time to wrap up the show, ladies and germs, boys and gentlemen, ducks and squirrels, crypto degenerates, all that good stuff. I will say that, Mr. Zenith, you're going to be hosting next week's book club, but the book club that's after that, the one that I will be hosting, I have already told the chats which book I'm going to be covering, and I totally forgot what it was. Oh yes, Ideal Team Player. So I'm going to be covering the Ideal Team Player by Patrick M. Lencioni. That's going to be the next book that I'm covering. That's going to be 2 weeks from now. Mr. Zenith, would you go ahead and give a sign off to the folks at home and tell them do you have a book picked out for next week?
I do not have a book picked out. I have a short list, but I don't have a book.
Okay. Do you want to pick it now live on stream? I could pressure you.
I'll make a better decision than trying to pull one off the cuff again, then we end up with The Power of Now.
I think that The Power of Now was an excellent
book. I like that one.
It was a good one.
I'm super bummed that I missed it.
I tried picking it because I thought it was going to be a book about being decisive and not like having confidence, and it was not that at all.
Hey, there you go. All right. Well, for the folks at home, if you guys want to find out what the next book is going to be, then what you need to do is go to t.me/DGen Book Club, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chats, right? t.me/DGen Book Club. right? And that's where you guys can find all of the book club information. Every time we have a new book in book club, we'll throw up another topic in there and we will create a section for that book. And whether we just post like simply the YouTube file name, or like I post my thoughts and my feelings about particular things that I thought are cool or fun, or sometimes I'll run the book through Chat GPT and tell me, hey, summarize this book or whatever. That's where all the information for the DGen book club can be found. So check it out. Look for book number 28, which is the one we're going to be covering next Friday. And Zenith at some point will announce that also on our sister channel, the DGen Roundtable, which I guess this is a good time for me to plug the DGen Roundtable. So make sure that you guys mosey your way on over to the DGen Roundtable. The way that you can get to the DGen Roundtable is you click on this here. Well, I guess you can't really click on it, but you can scan it with your camera, or you can look on your QR code thing or whatever the heck. I've also dropped the link in the chat, t.me/DRT join now. That is where you guys can go to join the DGen Roundtable Telegram community. That's where a lot of our stuff is talked about. The DGen Book Club is a little separate thing. That's a separate Telegram because I don't know. That's just the way that it worked out. But yeah, join our community, join our Telegram, come see what we're out, come see what's going on, because it's a super fun time and everybody wins. Mr. Zenith, what have you got going on in the near future, and where can the folks find you if they want to find more of you?
Folks, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ZenithDI. That is my personal brand account, and where I do a lot of the crypto research and talking as well. As far as next week's book club, I will have an answer for you guys on Sunday, which is where you can catch me next, which is where we are going to be doing our flagship show, talking about everything going on with crypto this week, whether it's the markets, news, or any developments going on in the world that can affect what we do as investors. Other than that, we are going to have another Wednesday episode. We're trying to figure out if that's going to be a guest or a community episode. We will let you guys know shortly. And then after that, yeah, next Friday is my book club. I have the short list. We can go anywhere from sci-fi to nonfiction to political philosophy. We have options. I'll put it that way. If we want to get real weird, I could do something fun and just call it the double feature, where we watch 2 movies and then come and talk about both of them together. That might be an idea for the future, or next week, who knows? I'll let you know. Either way, keep an eye out for the Sunday show. That is where we got a lot of the information. And then I guess as a teaser for not this Sunday, but the one after that, we're putting together our quarterly thesis show. I am spearheading that effort. So we want to try to provide a bit of an outlook for what you can expect in the crypto markets and a little bit of the overall markets for the next 3 months effectively, and what our predictions are going to be. And then we might even talk about some strategies for it. Other than that, I think I'm going to go for a different recommendation on SciVive than Will on this one. Is I would almost call this book a 6,000 hour book, which is that I think you get the most value out of this if you are a Hexican trying to understand Richard Hart and what he's trying to do with, or I guess understand more of his entire philosophy, because there's a reason that the guy who made Hex is also the guy that finished up his book with a chapter on longevity and trying to extend your life.
I've got one better for you, Zenith. This is not a 6,000 hour book. What number do you think of hours this book
it's
really
a Quattro
is?
Cinco book.
I think this is a 5,555 hour book.
Minimum.
That's the hours of hexness you need to have under your belt before you can understand SciVive. We're going to go ahead and push it right on to our next.
If you don't mind, real quick.
Yes.
Final word on this one is I did want to give a special shout out to Tam Tam. She has been here for every single one of the episodes, I'm pretty darn sure, and she's been contributing the entire time. She is a bit of a Richard Hart fanatic from what I hear, and I had an opportunity to chat with her earlier today. She has some very good insights, and we appreciate you showing up every time. You're the best.
Hell yeah. Good shit. Excellent. Mr. Sam Stevenson, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future, my brother?
Well, brother, I've got bungalows for bachelors going on. If you guys want to learn something about residential construction, want to learn about drawing, want to learn about house building, you name it, go check it out. And you can get all kinds of like cool, fun things going on in my little community that I've got. www.skool.com/BFB success is how you can join it. It's totally free. Come on in, hang out. You can ask questions. You can meet lots of cool people. Basically, if you are the kind of person who's ambitious, like most of the people are here on the DGen Roundtable, then hop on in the group, because I am running around Instagram collecting a whole bunch of wonderful people around the world, honestly, who are driven and love construction and want to learn and improve. So if you want to be surrounded by that, then come on over and check it out.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sam. Mr. Farmer J, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future, my friend?
You can find me lurking in the DGen Roundtable Telegram chat, and I do mean lurking. Got nothing going on, I'll just probably wait till Zenith drops what book we're gonna have next week, so I can get to reading that. Other than that, you guys, everybody have a great weekend.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Farmer J. Mr. Nate McGettit, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
You can find me on the YouTubes. You can also find me in the Telegram. You can go ahead and actually contact me through there as well if you had any questions about, what it is that you should be possibly, looking to buy, and maybe if your portfolio is all well and balanced and things like that, right? If you have any of these questions, go ahead, or like what you think of a certain project that you want to try and get into, go ahead, just hit me up in there. But right now I'm going through a bunch of statistics and stuff about kind of I guess you could call it the back end right now of DRT, and I've got a lot of findings and a lot of things. So I'm going to be bringing it to the team's attention here pretty soon about a lot of the stuff that I've been finding. There's a lot more details too I'm putting in, but yeah. So, and there's other things in the works right now that I won't announce right now. However, look for it next week because there's a possibility that something really big and awesome is going to be happening. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move it over to the lovely, lovely lady over here.
All right, okay. Mrs. McGettit, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
You can find me in the Telegram if you wanted to chat for any reason. I'm in I'm in most of them. The Hexagon one, the book club, and obviously our original flagship community chat. So if you want to talk about anything for any weird reason, go ahead, reach out, and I'll do my best to get back to you.
Excellent. Sounds good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, or I guess I should go now. All right, so I've actually used so I have a Telegram group right here that is bit.ly/hex_meetup, and I just use ChatGPT to make me some copywriting for this fantastic Hex group. So I want to say, attention Hex enthusiasts, are you ready to connect, collaborate, and grow with fellow Hex lovers? Then join our exclusive Telegram group today. Organize and join small-scale in-person meetups, share insights, and stay updated on the latest Hex events. Don't miss out on building a vibrant Hex community. Join us now and take your Hex journey to the next level. And then it says insert Telegram group link right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just did some live copywriting on ChatGPT to get you guys to join this group. For real, though, it's a super cool group on Telegram where a whole bunch of people get together and they have Hex meetups. That's where I met Tam. That's where I met Just Ask Jesse. That's where I met Nate. That's where I met Mr. Angry Twinkie. I met a whole bunch of motherfuckers in this Hex Telegram thing that I've created. So if you guys are Hexicans, you want me to other Hexicans, then go to bit.ly/hex_meetup. You can also go to t.me/hex_meetup. It'll take you to the same place, but this bit.ly will send you directly to the start here page. And so it's a little bit easier. If you follow the regular Telegram link, then it will take you to the page and you kind of have to filter through and find the start here thing. But this link right here, if you type this into your URL, the bit.ly thing, then it takes you straight to where you need to start to get the maximum experience from joining this Hex Meetup Telegram group. Other than that, I want to say thank you to everyone who is watching tonight, and we know that time is your most valuable asset, so we appreciate you guys spending your time here with us. I see that there is one final comment, and it's that Brissology has joined us, so I want to say a big shout out and thank you to Brissology. So that way we make sure that we shout out all of our folks in the chats and everything. And again, like I said, time is your most valuable asset. We appreciate you guys spending your time here with us, whether you're watching us live or whether you're catching us on the replay. We super duper appreciate y'all spending your time here with us. So, Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready because you guys already know what time it is. I want to make sure to remind all of you back home to remember to degen responsibly.